Zag, The One Strategy of High-Performance Brands, by Marty Neumeier. Introduction. Imagine for a moment that you're sitting in front of your television. But it's not the calm, focused screen you might be used to. Along the bottom, a bright red ticker scrolls with the latest stock market numbers. On the right, a vertical bar flashes breaking news headlines. In the corner, the weather forecast for the next 3 days is on a loop. And in the main picture, a news anchor is talking, but there's a box over his shoulder showing a live feed from another event, and below him, in bold letters, a question flashes: can he be saved? Your phone buzzes. It's an email. Another one. A text message. A notification from an app. You feel that pull, that need to check it all, to keep up. This isn't just a chaotic news program. This is a picture of our lives. We live in a world of more. More products, more messages, more choices, more noise. The real competition in life isn't just about being better than the person next to you. It's about being heard above the roar of the crowd. 40 years ago, the average person saw about 1,500 marketing messages a day. Today, it's over 3,000. Yet our ability to pay attention hasn't grown one bit. We are, in a word, cluttered. So, how does anyone break through? How does a company, an idea, or even a person, stand out in a world that's designed to be overwhelming? This is one of the most important questions you will ever ask yourself, not just in business, but in life. And the answer is surprisingly simple, yet profoundly difficult. It comes from the brilliant mind of Marty Neumeier in his book, Zag. The book itself is a work of art, a whiteboard overview, designed to be read on a short plane ride. But don't let its brevity fool you. Its pages contain a secret, a fundamental rule for success in the 21st century. And here is my promise to you. By the end of our time together today, you will understand this rule. You will see the world not as a single path where everyone races to be the fastest, but as an open field full of undiscovered paths. You will learn the #1 strategy of high-performance brands, and more importantly, you'll see how to apply it to your own journey, to your own ideas, to your own life. The secret is not about being the best. It's not about shouting the loudest. It's not about having more features or a lower price. The secret is this: when everybody zigs, you zag. Book summary. Let's start with a simple piece of fatherly advice. When author Marty Neumeier was a young boy learning to play baseball, his dad gave him a tip that would echo through his entire life. It wasn't about swinging harder or running faster. It was about something much smarter. He said, hit 'em where they ain't. Think about that. Don't hit the ball directly at the fielders. Find the empty spaces between them. That small piece of wisdom, passed down from a legendary baseball player named Wee Willie Keeler, a man who was tiny but had a spectacular batting average, is the very heart of this entire book. In today's world, most businesses are trying to hit the ball right at the fielders. They see a successful company and say, let's do that, but just a little bit better. They see a popular product and say, let's make one, but add another feature, or make it a different color. This is the game of zigging. Everyone is running in the same direction, fighting over the same small patch of ground. And it's a losing game. Because, as we talked about, the world is cluttered. The human mind has a very simple, very effective defense against clutter. It tunes most of it out. It creates little mental boxes for everything it encounters. When it sees a car, it puts it in the car box. When it sees a coffee shop, it puts it in the coffee shop box. And here's the crucial part: once a box is filled and labeled, the mind doesn't like to change it. For decades, the battle for business was fought over things companies controlled: factories, capital, patents. But today, the most powerful barrier to competition isn't owned by any company. It's owned by the customer. It's that little box in their mind. If someone already owns the safe, reliable family car box in your mind, like Volvo did for years, it's almost impossible for another company to come in and take it. This brings us to the most important definition you will learn today. What is a brand? It is not a logo. It is not an advertisement. A brand is a person's gut feeling about a product, service, or company. It's not what you say it is. It's what they say it is. The best you can do is influence that gut feeling. So if you can't win by being better, and you can't win by shouting louder, how do you win? You zag. You don't try to take over someone else's mental box. You create a new one that you can own. You find the empty space on the field. You hit 'em where they ain't. This is what Neumeier calls radical differentiation. It's not about small incremental changes. It's about being so different that you create a new category. Think about it. Before Cirque du Soleil, you had the traditional circus with animals and clowns. Cirque du Soleil created a whole new category, a theatrical, artistic circus for adults. They didn't compete with the old circus, they created a new market. They zagged. The trouble is, zagging feels risky. It feels weird. And that's the point. Neumeier introduces a simple but powerful tool to understand this: the good different chart. Imagine a square divided into 4 quadrants. The vertical axis is for good, the horizontal axis is for different. In the top left, you have things that are good, but not different. These are the Me Too products. They test great in focus groups because they're familiar. But they don't stand out and their profits are tiny. In the bottom left, you have not good and not different. These are just failures. In the bottom right, you have different, but not good. These are the weird, pointless ideas that go nowhere. But the magic, the place where fortunes are made, is the top right quadrant, good and different. Here's the catch though. Things in this quadrant often test poorly at first. People call them strange or ugly or crazy because they've never seen anything like it. When BMW wanted to launch the Mini Cooper in America, all their research said Americans wanted bigger cars, more SUVs. A tiny, quirky car seemed like a terrible idea. But the leaders at BMW were brave enough to zag. They trusted their gut that there was a tribe of people who wanted something fun, stylish, and different, and they created a massive success. So, how do you find your zag? You have to learn to see what isn't there. Neumeier calls this white space. Artists are trained to see the negative space around an object, not just the object itself. Great innovators do the same in business. They look at the market and ask, what's missing? Think about Netflix in its early days. Everyone else was focused on physical video stores. Netflix saw the white space, movies by mail, with no late fees. They zagged. One of the best ways to find this white space is to stop thinking about products and start thinking about jobs. What is a job people are trying to get done? A great example is the cheap reading glasses you can buy at a drugstore. For years, the only option was expensive prescription glasses. But someone realized people had a simple job they couldn't get done, having an extra pair of glasses for reading in bed or in the kitchen without spending a fortune. The $10 readers aren't as good as prescription glasses, but they don't have to be. They do the job well enough, and an entire industry was born from that simple insight. And then there's the advice from Neumeier's mother. Seeing her son unsure of what to do with his life, she told him, find a parade and get in front of it. This is about trends. A zag gets a massive boost when it's powered by a trend. Starbucks didn't just sell coffee. They rode the trend of a more European, cafe-centric lifestyle. The iPod didn't just play music, it rode the trend of digital music sharing. A trend is a wave. You can paddle your surfboard all day and get tired, or you can catch a wave and let it carry you forward. So you've found the white space. You've got an idea that feels both good and different. Now, how do you design it into a powerful brand? This is where Neumeier gives us a 17-step process. Now, don't worry, we won't go through them like a checklist. Instead, we'll weave them together into a story of creation. It all starts with a simple question: who are you? Before you can build anything lasting, you have to know what your passion is, what your purpose is. A brand needs energy, and that energy comes from a genuine belief in what you're doing. This is your core. It's the one thing that will never change. For Google, it's organizing the world's information. For Disney, it's making people happy. From that purpose, you create a vision, a clear picture of the future you want to build. As Aristotle said, a soul never thinks without an image. A company can't act without a vision. When President Kennedy declared that America would put a man on the moon by the end of the decade, that was a vision. Everyone could picture it. It was concrete, inspiring, and it aligned everyone's efforts. Once you know who you are and where you're going, you need to define what makes you the only. This is perhaps the most powerful checkpoint in the entire book. Neumeier challenges you to complete this sentence. Our brand is the only ________________________ In the first blank, you put your category. In the second, you put your zag. If you can't fill in those blanks and honestly use the word only, you don't have a zag yet. Let's look at a classic example from the book, Harley-Davidson. What? The only motorcycle manufacturer? How? That makes big, loud motorcycles. WHO. For macho guys and macho wannabes. Why? Who want to join a gang of cowboys in an era of decreasing personal freedom? That onlyness statement is a filter for every decision you make. It tells you what to do, and just as importantly, what not to do. This leads to the next crucial idea: the power of subtraction. We humans love to add things. We love to build, to expand, to create new initiatives. But strong brands are often built on sacrifice. You must be willing to prune away anything that doesn't align with your onlyness. Neumeier tells the story of Cadillac, the luxury car company. A few years ago they licensed their name to be put on bicycles. Their reasoning was that it would break through preconceptions about the brand. But all it really did was confuse people. Now, Cadillac is a luxury car and a bicycle company? It diluted their focus. They saw a fork in the road, and, as the saying goes, they took it. A strong brand knows where it's going and says no to everything else. Once your zag is focused, you need to build your tribe. This is about asking, who loves you? A brand is not built in isolation, it's built by a community. Neumeier tells a beautiful personal story about a small, mom-and-pop coffee shop near his home. It's nothing fancy: concrete floors, scruffy couches. But the owners remember everyone's name and their favorite drink. They have a simple loyalty card that builds community. Then, a giant Starbucks, beautifully designed, opened up on the same block. On September 11, 2001, right after the new Starbucks opened, Neumeier feared the small cafe was finished. But when he went back the next day, the line of customers stretched out the door and around the building. Why? Because the little cafe had built a true community. The owners got a living, the customers got a place to connect, the landlord got a tenant that drew people in. Everyone in the ecosystem was giving and getting. Starbucks was just selling coffee, The little cafe was a hub for a tribe. Loyalty can't be programmed with discounts. It has to be earned by being loyal to your customers first. To sharpen your identity even further, you sometimes need an enemy. This doesn't mean being negative. It means using the principle of contrast to define what you are by showing what you're not. When Apple launched its famous 1984 AD, it positioned the bland, corporate conformity of IBM as the enemy, making Apple the champion of creativity and individuality. Avis famously took on Hertz with the tagline, "We're number two. We try harder." They used the industry giant to define themselves as the scrappy underdog. David needs Goliath to be a hero. Now, with a clear identity, you have to communicate it. This starts with a great name. A poor name is a drag on a brand, but a good one accelerates it. The name should be different, brief, easy to spell, and satisfying to say. From the name comes a true line, the one true, simple thing you can say about your brand. For Southwest Airlines, the true line is that you can fly almost anywhere for less than it costs to drive. The true line is then polished into a customer-facing tagline, like Southwest's "You are now free to move about the country." It's a single, powerful proposition. With all these pieces in place, your purpose, your onlyness, your tribe, your name, you now must build the customer experience. A strategy is just a plan until it's executed. You have to think about every single touch point, every moment a customer comes into contact with your brand, from the packaging to the website to the way your staff behaves. Every touch point must align with and reinforce your zag. But what happens when you succeed? What happens when your zag works, and your company starts to grow? This is where many brands lose their way. And Neumeier gives us another brilliant mental model to understand this phase, the competition cycle of scissors, paper, rock. Think of it like this. Scissors companies are the startups. They're small, nimble, and have a very sharp focus. They compete by cutting out a small piece of the market from the big guys. As a scissors company grows, it develops momentum and becomes a rock company. It's bigger now, less focused, but powerful. It competes by crushing the smaller scissors companies that get in its way. Finally, as a rock company becomes huge, its momentum slows, and it becomes a paper company. It may be unfocused, but its sheer size, resources, and network allow it to smother the rock companies. And the cycle is complete. Scissors cuts paper. Paper covers rock. Rock crushes scissors. Companies tend to grow clockwise from scissors to rock to paper, but they compete counterclockwise. This simple game explains how a tiny, focused startup scissors can find a niche and thrive against a massive corporation paper. The danger for any successful company is getting stuck. Success creates processes and rules, a culture. But over time, that structure can become a prison. Neumeier calls it cultural lock-in. The company becomes so good at doing the one thing that made it successful that it can't adapt when the world changes. The cautionary tale here is Sears. Sears was once the king of mail-order catalogs. They were America's most trusted store for tools and practical goods. That was their zag. But then they tried to be everything else: a department store, an insurance company, a portrait studio. They lost their focus. And when the internet created the biggest mail-order opportunity in history, Sears was too locked into its old ways to see it. They missed their chance to become the Amazon of their day. They failed to renew their zag, and Amazon took that crown. So how does a company avoid this fate? It has to be willing to reinvent itself. Sometimes, this requires what Neumeier calls a two-stage rocket. You use your old existing business, the first stage, to provide the fuel and profits to launch a new brand, a new zag, the second stage. This is what Kodak is trying to do, using the declining profits from its old film business to fund its new digital brand. In the end, it all comes back to speed and change. The world is moving faster than ever. Artist Andy Warhol once predicted that everyone would be famous for 15 minutes. In business, the lifetime of a brand is shrinking just as fast. The journey from a new innovation to a common commodity is brutally short. The market as a whole will always move faster than any single company. The only way to win is to build a culture that thrives on constant innovation. A culture that is always looking for the next white space, the next parade to get in front of, the next zag. Because in a world that is always zigging, the future belongs to those who have the courage to be different. The final lesson is simple and stark. If you're not zagging, you're lagging. Commentary. As we step back and look at the ideas in Zag, what strikes me is how this isn't just a book about business. It's a handbook for life in the modern world. That feeling of being overwhelmed by clutter isn't just something companies face, it's something we all face every single day. The pressure to conform, to follow the well-trodden path, to zig with everyone else, is immense. It starts in school, it continues in our careers, and it echoes in our social lives. The most powerful lesson Marty Neumeier gives us is permission to be different. Not just slightly different, but radically, authentically different. The onlyness statement is a tool I wish someone had given me when I was 17. Imagine sitting down not to write a resume listing the same activities as everyone else, but to define what makes you the only you. I am the only student who combines a love for coding with a passion for classic poetry. I am the only friend who will always tell you the truth, even when it's hard to hear. I am the only artist in my town focused on reviving this forgotten technique. Suddenly, you're not competing anymore. You're creating. You're defining your own category. This is the shift from a scarcity mindset, fighting for a slice of the pie, to an abundance mindset, where you bake your own pie. What I find so profound is the link between zagging and courage. It's easy to follow the crowd. It feels safe. Zagging, by definition, means stepping away from the herd and into the unknown. It means facing the risk of being misunderstood, of being called weird or crazy, just like the ideas in the good and different quadrant. But as the book so clearly shows, that's where the real rewards are. That's where true impact is made. So how can you start applying this today? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, find your onlyness. Take out a piece of paper and write that sentence. I am the only _____________________________________________________________________________________________________________ Don't worry if it's not perfect. Just the act of trying to articulate your unique value will change the way you see yourself. This is your personal zag. Second, look for the white space. In your school, your community, or your hobbies, where is everyone zigging? What is the one thing everyone is doing? The one path everyone is taking? Now, look for the gaps. What isn't being done? What need isn't being met? It could be as simple as starting a club for something no one else is interested in, or learning a skill that seems unconventional. That's your opportunity. Third, embrace productive sacrifice. To truly focus on your zag, you have to say no to things that don't align with it. What are you doing right now just because you feel you should be doing it? What activities are you involved in that dilute your energy and your unique identity? Letting go of the good is often necessary to make room for the great. In the end, zag is more than a strategy, it's a philosophy. It teaches us that the path to success and fulfillment is not about being a better version of someone else, but about becoming the only version of yourself. It's about having the clarity to see the open field and the courage to hit 'em where they ain't. That was a deep dive into Zag by Marty Neumeier. We've explored the core ideas today, but I have to be honest with you. A summary like this is like looking at a travel brochure for the Grand Canyon. You can see the pictures and get a sense of its majesty, but you can't truly feel it until you're standing on the edge yourself. The real magic of this book is in its simplicity and directness. It's designed to be a tool, a companion. If anything we've talked about today sparked a little fire in you, I sincerely encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's about giving yourself a new lens through which to see the world and your place in it. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It's a small click for you, but it makes a huge difference for us, and it ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.